you get this opportunity with a lot of people at the gym. How do you start figuring out like what their goals are and like really what is the bottom?
A few years back, that was for me, it was couch to 5K, just getting my body ready because running was a punishment.
Like what are some of the goals that we see as fitness coaches, especially this time of year? And let's see if we can't chunk those down and give people small actionable habits.
It's very challenging if you just set out to accomplish something without a plan to actually build in daily habits.
Welcome to the Live Healthy Louisville podcast, where we dive into the heart of the city's health and wellness scene. Brought to you by Results by Design Fitness, bringing you local stories, experts, and tips so you can live your best life right here in Louisville.
And it's that time of year again. It's January. We've reset into a new year. It's 2026. We're settling into the first couple weeks out of the year. And oftentimes with the rollover from one year into the next, people start to set goals, or at least they have resolutions. And maybe they feel lost on how to goal set or what goals are most important to them and where to even start. So today's episode is for that listener, for the person who wants something more in 2026 that maybe they felt like they missed out on in 2025. So if you're someone who's looking to set new goals and to accomplish those goals and to finally take back their life so you can live it to the fullest, then this episode's for you.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Ryan. And we've talked about this before. I love this time of year. I think it's one of the most magical times of the year when it comes to health. I think people on a whole are the most aligned when it comes to their health and their fitness and their nutrition, more so than any other time of the year. But the reality is we know that most resolutions don't stick. We know that, right? I actually just ran some quit statistics. Let me spit that out there. Statistics here on ChatGTP, and it said within the first week, 23% of people have already given up on their resolutions.
Wow.
Okay.
I believe that.
By the end of January, over 50, and then by the end of February, over 80% have given up on their resolutions. And we've seen that. We've seen that many, many times over the last 15 years at the gym. And I've seen that many, many times over my last 20 plus year career. And I think those happen because people miss a few steps along the way, right? And I think one of the first things that I'd like to talk about today is like goals, obviously. So resolutions are goals. Problem with those resolutions is that a lot of times they never leave people's heads. So when those never leave people's heads, they never become a reality. They never become a thing. So I think that's one of the first steps that we need to talk about today. So talk to us a little bit about some of the clients and things that you work with. Talk about how you start to set down, because I know you get this opportunity with a lot of people at the gym. How do you start figuring out like what their goals are and like really what is the bottom of it? Like what is the why?
Well, I think it's just what you said. People have an idea of what they want to accomplish. And oftentimes one of the first questions we ask them when they walk in the door is, well, what brings you in today? Or what are we going to accomplish together starting today? Why did you walk in these doors? And a lot of times it's those very simple answers. Like, oh, I need to get healthy, or I want to lose weight, or they may even have a number in mind. I need to lose 25 pounds. Oftentimes it's because they feel like they need to fit into a certain box, or maybe a doctor has told them, or maybe a family member has mentioned like, hey, I'm noticing that you're not able to do some of the things that you were able to do or before, or maybe you're a little overweight now, and I think it's time to reset and to get into a good fitness plan. And just speaking from a fitness standpoint here, I think that's okay. I think that's okay to have some of those thoughts, but we really need to dig deep and figure out what's important to us. And when we write those down, just like you talked about, you're speaking that into existence. Right. You're speaking that into fruition so that we can actually set a course to reach your goals. There's something magical about writing things down. There really is. Like if you think about something as simple as going to school back in the day, and I know it's been a while for you, but it's been a little less time for me, and writing notes. It was a lot easier for me to comprehend and to be able to regurgitate that information over time when I actually wrote things down. There's something magical about using a pen to paper. And I think the same can be true with our goals. We have to get those things out on paper. We have to speak those things out first. And when you're writing things down, guess what? Other people see them.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when you hold those things in or you're just verbalizing it, you're not telling enough people. When you write things down, there's more eyes on it. So what happens when there's more eyes? Well, there's more help. And then all of a sudden we take those goals and we're able to align maybe with other people that have those same goals, or someone is able to reach out and say, hey, I can actually help with that, and here's why. So when people walk in for the first time, we take them through their health history, and obviously that allows us to get to know them from an injury and surgery standpoint, or what they've accomplished or haven't accomplished before, but it also allows us to visually see those goals. Yeah. And it also allows me to take it a step further and maybe break it into digestible pieces. Yeah. Like, hey, I see this written down. Let's figure out why that's important to you, Scott. I see that you want to lose a little weight, but let's dig a little deeper. Why is that important? Mm-hmm. Now, all of a sudden, we're writing things down together. So they have that sense of accomplishment already, because they're taking something that was just an idea and we're taking it to that next level.
I think you said something really important there, is like what you just said is like getting down to the root of it and like figuring out what it is. You know, a lot of times, you know, especially in the fitness field, we hear that we want to lose weight, right? We hear that all the time. But the reality is that, you know, there's more to losing weight. Sometimes it's wanting to feel comfortable in your own skin again. Sometimes it's wanting to have energy to go out and play with the kids or the grandkids. Sometimes it's about going out and tackling that triple crown like I know you're going to do this year, right? Because Ryan's already told me that goal. He's already spoke it into existence, and I know he's going to follow through with it. But, you know, one of the things I've seen over the last 15 plus years is that a lot of people often are so driven goal-wise for the outcome, and they fail to think about the process. You know, a lot of times in fitness, you know, everybody says, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds, but often what would get them there is that, hey, I'm going to hit my nutrition, my protein goal 90% of the days every single month for the rest of the year, right? I'm going to work out 4 days a week, 90% of the time, every month for the rest of the year. You know, those types of things. So talk to me a little bit about outcome versus process goals and like what you've seen over the last few years.
I think the people that have the most success are the ones that become their fitness lifestyle. They're not just searching for it. They fall in love with the habits. They fall in love with the journey. And because of that, you know, we're feeling better, and we're feeling comfortable in our own skin, and we're accomplishing all those goals, like you mentioned, because we actually enjoy the process. Mm-hmm. So just like you mentioned, like you might have some goals in mind, but really it's having that as a lifestyle that you really want. Mm-hmm. Some people don't understand that until they get there either. Like we may start out on this journey to lose 35 pounds, but all of a sudden this person's 17 pounds in and they're happier than they ever have been, because they didn't realize that it was so much more than they wanted. They didn't realize how much better their body was going to feel getting up and down off the floor. They didn't understand how awesome it was going to be able to do some things that maybe they weren't even able to do in college, or maybe they weren't able to do as kids. They're taking back their life and they're taking ownership over their health so that they can go live it to the fullest. That's what this is really about. Mm-hmm. Any goal that people have in life, whether it be this fitness-related concept that we're talking about today, or going and doing something business-related, it's not just that business-related ideology either. It's not just that fitness-related concept. It's all of the things, all the moments that happen in between that matter the most. We're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Right.
I may have this goal that to run the Triple Crown and accomplish and run the mini marathon do all those things by April. But if I'm not falling in love with the journey of consistent meal prepping and runs throughout the week and getting alone in my thoughts and enjoying that process and listening to a couple tunes or a podcast and enjoying my time doing that, then none of that matters. And if I don't make it to tomorrow, I know that I spoke that into existence, and I know that I started today by doing something. And we see that all the time with our members at the gym with this fitness-related idea. We may have members that want to gain muscle because they feel super weak. Yeah. We don't know what that means. We have no measurables other than what you're able to do outside of the gym. Right? We can track things inside of the gym and say, Scott, you went from a 20-pound dumbbell to a 40-pound dumbbell, and that sounds great in the moment. And I hope you're falling in love with lifting that weight, but I bet you're falling in love more with lifting your kids, lifting your grandkids, getting up and down on the floor, going to a vacation home and being able to participate in all the excursions. Yeah. That's what this is about. So when you talk about reaching for those goals, yes, I want them to be attainable. I want you to accomplish that. Whatever you set out to do in 2026, I want you to get there. But what I want even more for you is I want you to live life to the fullest up to and beyond that point, because you made it a lifestyle. You didn't run as fast as you could in full sprint and get to this journey and then just end it. No, you got there, and we figured out what it took to be sustainable and to do more cool things in the future.
Yeah, that ties in well to nutrition as well. I always tell people, the things that are going to help you lose 10 pounds are the same things that are going to help you keep that 10 pounds off. So you better fall in love. You better figure out a way. One of the things you said there was like kind of chunking it down. And I think that's where a lot of people miss. So this kind of segues into this next part. First, I think we need to identify the goal, and we need to write it down and be very clear what it is. Yeah. But then the next step is like, what are the things that we are willing to do or that we have to do to actually achieve it, right? I can want to lose 25 pounds, but I understand that I have to do some things in order to do that. So talk to me a little bit about that. Let me put you on a spot, right? I know you're going to be running here, the Triple Crown coming up. I don't know when it starts. Remind me. I know April.
March is the first leg.
March, April, May, something like that. So like, what are the things that you're having to put into practice yourself, right? Because I know you're not just going to show up on those days. I know you. You love to prepare and you love to plan. And that's what makes you very successful at the things you do. So talk to us and work us, step us through that.
Yeah, well, preparing and planning is the first step. Like you have to take what you have as far as the goal that is in mind, and you have to break it down in those digestible pieces. Like, what does it take to get there? Well, we know that it takes a plan to get there. So I outsource my plan, much like people outsource their fitness with us at the gym. Like we can't do this alone. So how did I outsource my plan? Well, I just so happened to be married to someone who ran in college and has good relationships with coaches that still coach cross country and long distance running. So, a few years back, that was for me, it was couch to 5K, just getting my body ready because, running was a punishment. Now it's a progressive plan that feeds where I was previously, still meeting me where I am, but a little further on in my journey. Keyword, falling in love with the journey there. So you have to plan. So I know that outsourcing was important to me. And after I outsourced and have a plan in place, I know that it goes back to me, right? Same thing with our members that come into the gym. Like they outsourced, a coach told them that they need to get in the gym 2 to 4 days a week.
Right.
I still have to put my name on the schedule as that member. I still have to put that on my plan to do the runs, to prepare my food in the right ways, to prepare my body for recovery, to make sure I'm getting my strength training in between those days. I still have to put those practices into play. So that's part of my plan. I think the next piece is figuring out what's most important to you. And then we have some opportunity cost. We just do, because we only have so much time, especially if you want to spend any time with your family at the end of the day. You want to spend any time with God if you're faithful like I am. I want to, spend some time alone with myself so I can talk to God and pray through things. So there has to be an opportunity cost away from some of those things that are most important to me. So I got my family, I got my faith, I have my work right behind that. And then I have myself and some of those accomplishments I want to do personally, right? So I take those pieces and I'm like, okay, well, what's most important? Those things are top of the list. What can I push over to the side? Well, making sure that I'm not spreading myself too thin. There's a guy that, we've been following over the last couple of years, Jesse Itzler, that is a really great planner, right? And he makes sure that he makes his family a priority. And I'm probably misquoting this, but basically he says we fill up our schedules far too much with other people's requests for our time.
Yes.
Rather than putting our own priorities as number one first. And then it's okay to help others. It's okay to schedule in time with others. But in the same breath, we need to make ourselves a priority number one. So I think that's the key ingredient too, is I have to, and our members have to plan their outside lives around what's most important. So with me, it's maybe pushing aside, maybe detoxing a little bit, not drinking for a little while, letting my body kind of recover from the holidays, getting back on my nutrition. It's, putting things on my schedule that allow me to stay consistent with running. So maybe not taking the long weekend getaways for the next couple of months, maybe not scheduling in things outside of my work and outside of friends and family right now, so that I can really be hyper focused on this goal currently. It's kind of like the seasons of like you talked about in previous episodes. Is I know this is going to be a season where I'm upping my mileage, and that takes time with running. So I know that there's going to have to be more time dedicated to that. Doesn't mean that's going to last all year, but it means that during this part of the year, I know that I'm going to have more time dedicated to that, which means there's opportunity cost. And typically I find that opportunity cost wasn't most important to me anyway. And I don't mind putting that out to the side right now. And it oftentimes makes me better in other avenues. Like when I have these opportunity costs, these time management techniques where I push these away from my plate, oftentimes I find that I'm spending more time with Allie, or I'm more present at work. I'm more focused because I'm hyper focused on what I thought was one thing, but all that is it's eliminating the noise. And so find what's most important, have gratitude for that, and then block out the noise of things that really don't matter as much in this time.
What are you willing to say no to so you can say yes to yourself? Right? That's what I'm thinking. Like the whole time I'm hearing that over there is like, what are you willing to say no to? And the reality is when it comes to fitness and nutrition and health goals, they do take time. There is an opportunity cost, right? When you are going out to train for the 5K, the 10K, the 10 miler, the mini, all those things, that takes time, right? You're not going to go out and do a 15-minute 10 miles, right? It'd be awesome if you could. You'd be in the Olympics and everybody would be studying you, but that's just not the reality. You know, if I went out and ran 1 mile, it's going to be 15 minutes, right? Time I stretch and run and then fall over and recover. So, you know, you got to plan those things. So what are you willing to say no to in order to say yes to you? I think that's a big thing that we just learned there. And then also, it was interesting how you talked about like how scheduling those things helps you be more focused in other areas, because that seems counterintuitive. You think when you're taking all this time over here to in your case, for example, run, or when it becomes, let's say, weight loss and you're meal prepping or exercising or whatever it may be, it's interesting. It's almost upside down thinking how when you're focused on those things, it allows you to be so much more focused and present and engaged in all the other areas of your life, because you realize that your time is finite, right? You realize that this is all the time I have to be. So you're not, your brain's not monkeying around trying to figure out like what the next thing is. You're not trying to figure out like, oh, there's a squirrel. Oh, there's another squirrel. You know, you're bouncing back and forth. You're like, hey, this is my run time. Yeah. This is my time when I'm at work. This is my time that I have scheduled for Allie, and your family and friends and all that thing in between. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, my goodness, I know there's people out there too that maybe feel this way too, but 2025, I felt like there were a lot of gaps in this too. And I think it's just because of the time of reflection. It doesn't mean 2025 was a bad year. And I've said this before, like 2025, I felt was a challenging year. But I think it's because, and we did a lot of this together too, you and I, is because we were better prepared and we planned more, and it just put everything into perspective. Whereas before, we just think that we're running on fumes and we're doing all these things and we're so busy. But when we broke it down into digestible bites, we're actually able to kind of compartmentalize just a little bit, take a breath somewhat, and then it put everything into perspective. And that does require you to look and see what's most important. And it highlights all those important things. When you talk about the hard things like Jesse Itzler, and I know there's some other people too, like I forget his name, but he wrote a book.
The Navy SEAL guy? Or...
He talks about it as well in his too, but there's another book that Alex Thomas actually
told you about it?
Told me about it, and I'm going to read it this year too. But it mentions the masogi. So long story short, there's a book out there called that talks about masogi, and Jesse Itzler talks about masogi. Masogi is a Japanese ritual, old Japanese ritual, and basically they've taken it and made it their own. But old Japanese ritual was to do something extremely challenging. And back then, I think it was something that had a 50-50 chance of you failing. Now they've taken it and they're like, oh, let's do one really hard thing. So basically the idea behind a masogi is to do one really challenging thing a year that makes you better in all avenues. And just so happens that mine is to do this run or these series of runs. But for some people, it may be writing a book.
Right.
For some people, it may be launching a podcast. For some people, it may be starting a business. For some people, it may be some other physical challenge like running or like a Spartan or an Ironman. Bottom line is you're challenging yourself in a way that you otherwise wouldn't unless you planned it, right? And then it makes you better in all those other avenues because it highlights your time. Because if you don't schedule for these things, you're not going to be able to work towards them. But when you schedule these things, you find all these gaps in your schedule that we actually do have some time. Like you do have some time to schedule in to be there present for your kids. You do have scheduled in time to go pick them up so you can be the dad that has memories with their kids picking them up from school and all the conversations that it leads to. So I think that's the most important aspect of this goal setting journey is the onset of it and figuring out what's important and then scheduling in that time because we only get to do this thing called life once. And although I feel like the next part is going to be even greater, the Creator has made a vast world that with a lot of great people in it, and we can do some pretty cool stuff while we're here. So why not be as present as possible, set our goals high, and shoot for everything we can possibly do while we're here.
I think let's pick that apart a little bit. You know, the masogi and stuff. I think to me, who you become when you do that is way more important than doing the event itself. Right? You were just talking about some of the things that you have to do and the person you have to become to be able to fit that into your life. Like when you do an event like this, whether it's a race, whether it's start a business, what was the other thing you named?
People, I mean, a lot of people write a book, do a podcast, anything.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you don't just start those things.
Yeah.
Right. You have to plan and prepare to do those things, right? They're not something that you just show up and do one day.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I think the person you become along that journey is super important. And I've seen that with you, especially over the last few years in your planning and your preparation and stuff like that. What are some of the things that you've noticed about yourself in that journey?
Yeah. So I think it builds discipline. You know, it's very challenging if you just set out to accomplish something without a plan to actually build in daily habits. And with daily habits comes that discipline. And then all of a sudden it just becomes a part of your daily life. Like you don't really think twice about it. So I think that's the most important aspect early on is just starting with something and then having it a part of your lifestyle. Because after you become disciplined in that, then you find that you're a little better organized in a lot of other avenues, or you pick pieces and pick things that you've learned from preparing for these challenging events, and then you implement it to other aspects of your life. Last year in 2025, I can say last year now. It's been a couple weeks into January now. Last year in 2025, just speaking from experience, our personal experience, Allie and I did a really good job of preparing ourselves for those challenging events, right? When we became those disciplined individuals that made sure that 2 to 3 times a week we were preparing for those events, it taught us things about other aspects of our life. And then when we do the reflection at the end of 2025, beginning of 2026, we start to reflect on other avenues. And then we're like, oh, you know what? I wasn't as disciplined here. And as a result, 2025, we didn't travel as much, or we didn't go hiking as much. We didn't do some outdoor things that we know help us kind of reset a little bit emotionally, mentally. And then we were reminded of that when we took our trip and near the end of the year, November, December, of how important that actually is. Yes. Even if it's just taking some time to go do things locally together, like that was something we felt we didn't do a great job of planning for. So it just helps in all those other aspects. And then when you become that, I think, and you become more aware of that, I think it helps you create some discipline in other areas. You know, I do Man Challenge with Southeast Church. And because that's on the schedule, I'm more likely to go and be disciplined in that area. And then it helps me become more disciplined during the week with getting in the Word. So all these little bits and pieces, I think you can always learn from it. When members come in the gym, oftentimes they say they show up better at work because They create the discipline of having exercise on their schedule with where beforehand, maybe it was trying to sneak something in after work and they're going to a 24-hour gym. Not that there's anything wrong with any of those places, but they're not they didn't physically put it on their schedule, and there's no consequence if they miss that night. Whereas if they have something on their schedule, they're letting their coach down. They're letting the other members that they know are at the same training hour down. When they build those disciplines through their fitness, all of a sudden, maybe they're not letting coworkers down. Maybe when they sign on for a project, they're taking ownership. They're taking initiative. Maybe they're helping plan some things out. Maybe they're sharing with what they've learned on their health and fitness journey to help those other people. So we see people show up better for their work. We see people show up better for their families. We see people have more clarity and a better mindset. And when they have a better mindset, they're able to have more positivity. And when you have more positivity, you're able to have more impact on others through the communication, through the conversations that you have.
Yeah, that's really great, Ryan. Really good stuff. So we figured out, so one of the first reasons we see resolutions fail is because, one, they never make it out of people's head. Two, right, they're focused on the outcome, not the process. Three, they don't make time. They're not saying no, so they don't have any time to fit it into their life. They're not planning and they're not preparing. And then four, like, what do you feel like that next step is? I think you've already mentioned it. You mentioned it early on when you were talking about how you did so good at running. Do you remember that part? If you don't, I'll let you know.
Tee me up.
All right, I'll tee you up. So I think the fourth area that really causes resolutions to fail is that we don't reach out for help. We don't reach out to the person that's been there, done that, and still helping people do that.
Yeah. Because I had talked about outsourcing, it becomes so naturally, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. But the big thing is, like, a lot of our members kind of fall in love with this journey too. Yeah. And then when they come in, they're just a part of it. Right. And they don't realize that they're still outsourcing constantly, right? Yeah. Which is really cool to see, because it just becomes a natural part of their lifestyle. Like, it became a natural part for me. And so I'm not even thinking about that aspect, but it's true. Yeah. Like, it's I take it for granted sometimes that I have somebody that helps me, and she's a physical therapist too. So if I have any aches or pains or tweaks, she's able to help me get back on track, literally. Yeah. But with our people at the gym, it's the same. Like, we're right there in the battle with them. We're in the trenches with them. They've outsourced their health, and they asked for help. They weren't afraid to.
And I think that's big. So I think a lot of times people, like, their goals and their resolutions are things that they have struggled with for years when it comes to their health and their fitness and stuff like that. So you need to reach out to somebody that's been successful in helping people do that. Don't you agree?
Right. And then the thing is, like, we struggle too. Yeah. It's the same struggles. Everybody's playing the same game. We're just in different levels. We're just in different fields. We're in different parts of our journey. And the cool thing is, like, if you're able to accomplish things too with me as your coach, you can go help the next person. I think about some of the people that we have in the gym. Like, one of our goals, and just to kind of put this out there, is one of our goals is to impact 200 people. We want to have 200 active members. Yeah. It goes beyond just those 200 members, though. A typical family is a family of 4, let's just say. So all of a sudden, 200 times 4 is 800. Yeah. Right? We're impacting 800 people right off the bat, much less the relationships and the friendships, the coworkers that these people are impacting. All of a sudden, we're impacting thousands of people just because we set a goal right there. And the same can be said with our members when they come in the gym. Like, they may want to accomplish things in life. You need somebody to walk along the journey with you, just like we have all these members that walk along the journey with us. There are times where our coaches may come in and maybe they're struggling with one of these aspects, and they're reminded of how powerful it is to stick to these principles, to stick to these daily habits, to stick to reaching towards their goals when they're down on the floor with a member who's trying to do the same thing. And they're like, hey, I got to walk the walk so that I can talk the talk to this person. And then it makes you more confident. Like, when our members come in and they initially ask for help, I'm sure that wasn't easy. I know it's not easy to ask for help. Sometimes in life, it's the last thing you want to do because pride gets in the way. And you're like, no, I can do it again. I can do it on my own. and then we get stuck in this kind of hamster wheel. But when you finally have the strength, and it is a strength, it's not a weakness to ask for help, it's a strength. When you finally have that strength to ask for help, you start to gain the confidence that you need to actually own that lifestyle and then reach for more.
That's great, man. That's great. And I think I had a business mentor one time tell me that the person that you're going to help the most is the person that you were 5 years ago. Right. And you mentioned like our coaches, we're coaches and we're in this fitness field, but there's times that we've fallen off, right? There's times when our nutrition isn't the best. There's times when our knee hurts, when our back hurts, when we're not training and all those things. And that's the reason that we're able to help so many people. Right. It's not because we're better than, it's just we've done more stupid stuff and we figured out, right? We've done more stupid stuff along the ways and we figured it out, right? Yeah. We've reached out for help, whether that's within our team, whether that's going out and getting further education. We continue to evolve and to become better people so that we can impact more people in this community. And I love that you said that.
Yeah. So, and the cool thing is like, we don't have it all figured out. We're just like, as coaches, it's just really cool to talk about goal setting with us. Yeah. Because especially this time of year, because what does everybody do as their New Year's resolution? They start with health first, but the problem is then health fades and then we get into these other things and then the year has passed or half a year is gone and then we never set it in stone. So it's really cool for us to be able to talk about it, but we're asking for help on a consistent basis in everything that we do, right? Like yourself with business or us with the coaching staff or members when we are bringing the community together to support people. And when we don't think that we have all the answers that we need, we're reaching for help. We're outsourcing. In the same breath, we're in this fight together. So it's really cool to be able to set goals together, not just gym-wise to help other people, but personal-wise too. It's really cool, the relationships that we've built over the years to be able to do that kind of thing.
That's 100% correct, man. I think that's great. I think what I'd like to do next is let's talk a little bit. So we've laid out like why we see resolutions kind of fail. So one, they're not being written down. They're never coming out of people's heads, so they're not becoming real, right? They're not realistic. 2, they're focused on the outcome, not necessarily the process. 3, do you remember what 3 was?
I didn't remember what 4 was. Outsource. You're gonna find me.
Right. So 3 is that they're not saying no, right? They're not saying no so they can say yes to something else. And then 4 is that outsourcing, right? How do we find that help? So let's walk through and let's help the audience. Let's help the listeners out there. Like, what are some of the goals that we see as fitness coaches, especially this time of year? And let's see if we can't chunk those down and give people small, actionable habits.
I like it.
That they can listen to this video, they can listen to this podcast, and they can get right to work.
Yeah.
So like let's try to walk through one. So what do you think? What do you think you're going to hear this January?
Yeah, obviously the big one for a lot of people is lose weight. So especially with the changing of information and the access to new things that we have, a lot of people are going to be they're going to be captivated by that weight loss. So I think number 1 is to go with weight loss.
Yeah. And I think that's absolutely a awesome goal.
Yeah, it is.
Right. So I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to lose weight. And I think that's a wonderful goal. I think going about it the right way is what's important.
100%.
Right. So let's talk. So the outcome, let's just say 10 to 15 pounds. We want to lose 10 to 15 pounds. That's the outcome that we're focused on. We've written that down. Like, what are some of the processes in your mind? Like, hey, these are some of the things that we've seen work. These are the big rocks that we know that when you get them right, you're going to be successful. But when you miss one of them, it's probably going to be tough. So what are some of those things?
Well, number 1, we have a hierarchy of fat loss that results by design fitness. And it stands true for anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. We have to fuel our bodies the right way. So number 1, if anybody wants to lose weight, we have to start with what you're putting into your body. Yep. Nutrition is number 1. Yep. On down the list on the hierarchy, actually, number 2 is nutrition too, because it's that important. So what we put into our bodies is it goes beyond the weight loss, right? It impacts everything that we do on a daily basis. It impacts every function inside of our body. And when you think about it like that, I think the weight loss comes naturally, and it helps you be more disciplined with your choices because you're becoming someone who eats healthy. You're not becoming the weight loss. You're becoming someone who is able to fuel their body in the right way. And then the weight loss is that outcome. So you start by putting the right foods into your body. Now, that's easier said than done, right? So I think if you break that down too, then we're looking at, I think protein consumption is always number 1. because muscle is the only metabolically active tissue in the body,
Right.
which means it's the only tissue in the body that's able to help us boost metabolism and burn body fat. And you have it everywhere. So it's really cool, right? You spread out and you can activate muscle groups all over your body and burn body fat head to toe. But we have to make sure that we're consuming good amounts of protein and the right types of protein. That's where you'll outsource. I mean, obviously we want to help you out as much as we can on this podcast, but you need someone who's consistently pouring into you, right? You need someone who's showing you, hey, this is the type of proteins that we recommend having. This is the time of day that we recommend having them. And you have to get that nutrition part right first. I think protein's number one. We texted somebody today that was out at Clean Eats. Shout out Matt Hall again.
Hey.
That was out at Clean Eats, which is a meal prep service company and a cafe and a frozen healthy nutrition food setting here in Louisville. And they have 2 locations. They were out at Clean Eats and they were wondering what macronutrients they should follow. And that's an okay mindset to have.
Yeah.
But what did we text them? We said, hey, you need to have 150 grams of protein a day. Let's focus on that first. Could you go and pick out 3 different meals, 3 meals a day, that allow you to get pretty close to that number and focus on that first? And we'll worry about the rest as it comes. Because typically when people are eating more protein, they're more full, which means portion size is controlled, and then we have a good start.
Yeah.
So I think that's the starting point is nutrition, and that's the starting point with nutrition is to focus on protein.
So I think a good process there, right, is that, we do this in the gym and we do this with all of our clients, is that we start off with those habits and we want to see you hit those habits
Yes.
90% of the time. Now, protein, we think is the most important, right? Especially when it comes to health and weight loss, but hitting our protein goal. And I want to offer to anyone out there listening, if you would like to have your protein goal figured out, come by the gym. We'll give you a free in-body scan so you can hop on, and then one of our coaches can walk you through figuring out what your protein goal is. Because I think when you get that right, like you said, almost everything else falls in place most of the time. Right? Not for everybody, but for a lot of people, when you get that, because it keeps you full, because it keeps your blood sugar stable, it just reduces those cravings. It just helps just with everything. Yeah. So I think that's great. So if we've got a protein goal, you come by the gym, you get that figured up, and then you hit that 90% of the days in a month, every single month, I think you're going to be very successful in your weight loss goal.
Yeah, because most of the people that are hitting that protein goal, they're making good choices too.
Right.
And when you're doing that and then your body's feeling so much better, you're going to want to move more often as it is.
Gotcha. So I want to lose 10 to 15 pounds. My first process is hitting my protein goal. What's next?
Oh, we got to train.
Okay.
We got to strength train. So strength training would be next on our hierarchy.
Okay.
And we find a lot of benefit with people strength training 2 times a week with 2 additional days of some kind of metabolic resistance training of some sort, getting your heart rate up and interval style training to be more precise. And but the bottom line is strength training is king, right? And we got to get 2 of those in.
Okay.
Now, once again, easier said than done. I think this is where most people need to outsource. There are a couple people out there. I have a friend. His name is Aaron Piercy. You've heard plenty of stories. The most laid back guy of all time. Yeah. And because of that, he has a plan laid out all the time. And he's been the only guy that I know that has been consistent 2 to 3 days of strength training a week for the last decade or more.
Wow.
Okay. And I think it's just because of his personality. There are a few outliers. Most people, myself included, need a program that they go to. It's laid out for them. It's precise and precisely catered to their body and to their body's needs. And it helps them feel good during the training. And if we feel good during the training, guess what? We're going to be able to do that more often. Yeah. And then we feel good outside of the gym too, which is where the real magic happens, by the way. So if you're like me and you need a plan that's programmed for you, that's where you need to outsource. You need a coach. You need a personal trainer. Obviously, I know there's some people that may be listening that maybe you're in a spot where you're like, you know what, I would love to budget for personal training. It's just not there yet. I'm gonna get there though. You got to start by picking up some things and putting them down. Right? we have to move our bodies, and we have to move our bodies often. I would preferably want somebody to sit down and do an assessment and see where their body is currently, see how their body moves. But if you're in a spot, we have to move. So where do we start? Well, I might start with some walking. I might start by getting a gym membership somewhere and just starting with some light exercises. making sure that your body feels good during those first, making sure you're not putting yourself into a pain point. And then when the time comes and you're able to, go see a coach. Let's get a plan laid out. Let's see how your body moves through space. Let's see how your body adapts when you get into these different movement patterns and positions. And let's start to make efficient strength training a priority.
I love it. So protein, hitting that.
Yep.
Exercise. So 2 to 4 days a week. Is that what we're saying? So minimum 2,
Right.
4 if it fits into your schedule and it's realistic. And that doesn't have to be, we're going to try to hit 2 every week, not every day, 2 every week. And then we're going to shoot for 4s on the weeks that we can. Does that sound fair, or were you thinking something different there?
No, I think, ideally we like 2 and 2 of 2 strength and 2 metabolic.
Okay. Yeah.
But someone,
that's optimal, right?
Yeah, that's optimal, right? But oftentimes that's not reality, right? And we've talked about Kevin on this episode or on this podcast before, and Kevin came to us, and Kevin's lost 60 plus, maybe even more, 80 pounds of body fat. But he's kept it off. And
10 years.
And 10
Over
years,
10
right?
years
Yeah.
now,
Gosh, I mean, he just keeps on going. Now he's online with us now. He's living in Florida, but for the bulk of that, he was in-house.
Yep.
And Kevin was getting 2 training sessions a week. And last time I checked, he's still averaging about 2 training sessions a week online.
Yeah.
But he's consistent with it. So we have to create consistency with whatever that plan is, whether it's the 2 and 2, which is optimal, or whether it's 2 consistently, or whether it's I'm shooting for 2 to 4. Some weeks I get 2, other weeks I get 3, but I'm still consistently in that realm. The consistency is king, and your body craves that consistency. Yes. And over time, you will see the benefit if you are able to harness and to sustain that consistency. And that's where we see the most results, is people that are able to do that. Because if you're getting 1 workout a week, 1 week, 4 the next, and then you miss a week, and then we finally got 2 in, but then I'm out of town, so I'm not working out for 3 weeks straight, and then no, we have to make that a priority first, and so that allows us to continue to moving in these patterns that help us feel good. And then all of a sudden, if we're making that a priority and being consistent in the gym, then we're consistently showing up outside of the gym too.
Yep. I love it, man. So we've got a protein goal. We've now got our exercise goal. What else? So if I want to lose 10 to 15 pounds this year, what are the things, what are the processes that are in your mind that I need to stick with? Is that it, or is there more?
Well, I think it just depends on the person.
Right. Okay.
Right. Like obviously, from that point, it may become a little more individualized. Okay. And very with true. Some of our members in particular, obviously we're asking them about sleep. We're checking in on your stress levels. Yeah. We're checking in on recovery and supplementation. I think you could kind of bulk all of those in together. But it kind of becomes individual. Like, let's do a wellness check. Let's see where you are. Are you recovering from this new plan of workouts? How is it meshing with your stressful job, or with your role as a mom or dad, or with your time management, with everything else that you have going on in life? And let's go ahead and let's take inventory of how your body's responding, and then also how you're feeling. And then we can kind of break it down into those digestible pieces again in this aspect of things. Yeah. Like, supplementation isn't as easy. Like, obviously we have our foundational 5 at the gym that works for a lot of people and helps fill the gaps, like things like multivitamins and fish oil and magnesium and vitamin D and fruits and greens supplements, things that people are oftentimes deficient in, that fills the gaps for most people. But for some, it's as simple as like, hey, Scott, how are you sleeping? Well, here's what I've seen to work over the years. Obviously, check with your doctor, but this helps me out. Why don't you see about giving it a try and see if it works for you? Looking at things like recovery, like going for those walks in between workout days, doing things as simple as Epsom salt bath at home. We had someone today that was working out at the gym, and she is someone who's worked out for 12 years at the gym. And she knows all of these things, but she comes in, she's like, my hip's really been bugging me. I have the idea that it's probably just muscle related. And so I'm like, hey, let's take a moment for you, and let's do an Epsom salt bath tonight. Could you do that for me? And so she's going to go home tonight, do an Epsom salt bath. I think she's going to wake up tomorrow and feel a lot better, because she's actually given her body a break, and she's actually taken some time for her so that she can actually just sit. Motions often live in our tissues. And if we can help control those through maybe supplementation or some kind of recovery technique, or just taking some solitude and going for a walk, then maybe we can give our body a reset too. So that's the next thing I would look at, is kind of individualizing things. But all of these components come down to one thing, and it's taking inventory of our own bodies.
Yeah, dude, that was good stuff. So you're saying if we're not sleeping well, then maybe we set a process goal of getting that 7 hours of sleep. You know, if you're doing it 3 days a week, maybe we set a goal of hitting it 4 days a week.
Boom.
Or 5 days a week. If our stress management's out of control, right? We're stressed at work, we're stressed at home, we're stressed everywhere we go, then maybe it is recovering and doing some low light reading or going for a walk or hitting that Epsom salt bath. I think that's awesome, right? So I think if you're out there, 10 to 15 pounds is your goal this year. I think hitting your protein goal. Remember, if you guys are interested in learning what that protein goal is, come by the gym. We'll set you up on an in-body scan and find out that goal for you. One of our coaches will sit down with you, discuss. Most likely Coach Ryan, could be myself, Josh, Kelsey, Matt, who knows, whoever's available, but we'll take care of you. After that, getting to workout 2 to 4 times a week, right? And then being individual, like being realistic, like what are the areas that are keeping you from getting to your goal? Right. One of the big ones that I know that we see a lot in the gym that we didn't mention, you know, is alcohol consumption. Right. And we often don't think about it because we're just having 1 or 2 glasses of wine or a beer a night. So it's not affecting our work life. But when it comes to health and weight loss, it can do that. So maybe that's a person that's drinking 4 or 5 nights a week. And our goal for the first 2 months is to cut that back to 3 days a week. And then maybe we go to 2. So I think figuring out that next individualized step. What are some other ones? Let's see if we can role play or walk through another one. So, what are some other goals you think you're going to hear in this new year?
The cool thing is a lot of these are kind of intertwined, and people don't often associate them with themselves. So, you get the people that are like, I want to be stronger. I feel so weak. I lack balance. I have pain when on this left side when I do certain activities. I'm not able to play with my grandkids. I'm the person that goes on vacation, and I'm the one that's sitting on the bench, and I'm never able to participate by walking around the entire theme park with the family. All of these things boil down to living life to the fullest. And that's the cool thing, is like if we can create consistency in those areas, they're all kind of intertwined, right? And maybe people have big goals. Maybe they're outside of some of those normal lifestyle things, as far as losing weight, or as far as getting pain-free, as far as getting functional range of motion and strength back, and taking back their balance and not experiencing those falls, things that we've commonly seen with all of our members over the years. But if I were to boil it down to some of the bigger goals, like some people want to do an Ironman. So then all of a sudden we have to do some other things. We're probably doing all those things we just mentioned. But then we have to break it down into digestible pieces of each part of that. Obviously, you can't swim in our gym. So we got to swim somewhere.
If you're swimming at our gym, something happened.
Yes, we got a leak. which we can try to fix, obviously, but no, so we got to go swim somewhere. We got to go cycle somewhere. So obviously there's some things that go outside of the walls of maybe your regular gym, but you have to break down those pieces depending on what those are.
Yeah, I think like we were talking about earlier, yourself wanting to run the Triple Crown. Obviously, in order to run, you need to do some running, right? Yeah. You're going to do some running. So figuring out those times and chunking those out, and obviously not starting off crazy. You're not going to start off from the couch to the 5K running 5 days a week, right? If you do, you're going to wind up seeing Dr. Alley in our physical therapy office, right? Because you're going to be hurt, and that's just the reality. So we want you to move often, but we want you to move well before we move often. So, and that's really important. That's where strength training and stuff comes in. So what are some other things out there, man? So I think we've covered it all. So we want to help the city of Louisville stick to their resolutions and live their healthiest life in 2026.
Right.
So what are some other things that you can think of? One of the things I just thought of off the top of my head is that, hey, it's February. I've already fallen off my resolution. What do I do now?
Well, when that comes up here in a couple of weeks,
right,
I think you're going to need to just get back to basics. We with our nutrition, it's get back to phase 1. At our gym, and anyone can do this once you build some good habits. We put all of our habit-based nutrition tactics into a journal, and we call it phase one. And phase one doesn't mean there's a phase 2 and a phase 3 and a phase 4 and a phase 5 and we just keep on going and get more and more intense. Phase one means when all else fails, refer back to me. So I think it's once you build these good habits, we have to refer back. We have to go back to basics whenever we notice some of those things that where we have slipped. And I think it's just continuing to take inventory. Like obviously someone who knows that they've fallen off in February has good autonomy. They have good awareness of where they are, and they have good awareness that maybe they've slipped a little bit. So it means they're doing something right. They're either tracking correctly and they know like, hey, my body composition has changed in a negative way. I need to look somewhere. Or they're starting to feel that little discomfort in their knee. And maybe they think back and they're like, oh, you know what? I haven't been consistent with my workouts. So that person is actually in a really good spot because they've built up good awareness of where they are, and they've built up good body autonomy of where what piece is missing. And then all of a sudden we just get back to it, right? And I think another thing is the bigger your goal, the more likely you are to hit those valleys. And the bigger your goal, the more you need those recovery tactics. So the more you need some of those things we've already talked about. And you mentioned Allie, Dr. Allie with Foundations Physical Therapy and Wellness, my wife, that keeps me afloat too, is you may need a physical therapist more often whenever you're reaching for big goals. If your goal is to do something very physically challenging in 2026, you may need to consult with a physical therapist along with your gym routine, along with your personal trainer to help you get through those periods, to make sure that you're staying stable in your knees and your hips and your shoulders. To dry needle you when you're extra tense and you had a really challenging workout that's getting you ready for a marathon or an Ironman or a Spartan. You may need some red light therapy. You may need to wind down a little better at night. You may need extra carbohydrates, but all of this is coming down to the same thing, right? You can't do it alone, right? If you go try to do some things alone, there may be some psychopaths out there that can do it, but you need community. You need a friend. You need a helping hand to help guide you through it. And so that's where those resources come in. So the bigger the goal, the more you find yourself in those challenging moments, the more that you need to go back to basics to find that person. We're in the midst of bringing out stretch therapy right now. Maybe it's alongside your gym routine, going and getting stretched out, letting Coach Will take you around and stretch you out and find those tight, nagging areas. Bottom line is you need to find what fuels your body. And when those moments occur, let that person help.
Man, I think that's the hope of this podcast, is that we want to help the people here in Louisville to live their best life, and whatever that looks like. How can we support that? Whether it's helping you with your nutrition, helping you with your fitness, pointing you in the right direction when it comes to physical therapy, chiropractic, whatever it may need, that's what we're here for. We want to see you live your best life here in 2026. Coach Ryan, myself, we would love to have anyone that you think would be a great guest on the podcast. Let us know. Reach out to us, tell us, and we'd be happy to help. And then my last thing, and I'll let you close us out, is like, don't miss out on this time of year. It is magical. It is powerful. Ride that emotion. Utilize it to help you start your goal, and then make sure you get people to come along beside you so that you can accomplish your goal. We would love to help you at Results by Design Fitness. I know you guys have probably heard, you can reach out to Ryan at Results by Design Fitness. You can reach out to myself, Scott at Results by Design Fitness. We would love to offer you guys a free 30-day VIP to come experience everything we have to offer this new year. So come and do it. One exception. You got to take advantage of that before the 31st, right?
I like it.
So put a little bit of time urgency on that. So if you guys reach out to us before January 31st, Coach Ryan would be happy to sit down with you and get you that protein goal. We can get you set up for a 30-day all access to unlimited personal training right there in our gym. What else, man?
Yeah, share.
I'm excited.
Share this with someone that you think might need it, right? Like you may want to take advantage of this yourself, but reach out to someone. If you know someone who's reached out and said, you know what, I'm struggling, or you know someone would benefit from just having a conversation with us, we'd love just to talk. You know that if you comment VIP and we put your name in for a free month, like share the word,
Yeah.
share the gospel. There's maybe someone else who needs that as well. And like Scott mentioned, just having a conversation. So we'd love to hear from you guys. Reach out to us, email us, DM us on Instagram, wherever your socials are. We'd love just to start a conversation, just to help you go in the right direction when it comes to setting big goals for 2026. So let's do this together. So reach out, have a conversation, and let's live healthy, Louisville. We love you too, and we'll see you next time.
Good. Bye, guys.